I was 23 at the time. Like, I'm buying a sub? What? It's crazy. So everything from like robotic arms that pan and tilt to a fully functional cinema camera to an eDNA sampler. It takes one person to start a movement. So everybody can be a conservationist. Being on Pristine Seas, I want to make sure I'm the best team member I can be so that the conservation can continue and is doing as much as it can be.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Resilience Tracks, the podcast where we follow the tracks of the next generation of environmental leaders working to build a more resilient future here on Earth. Today, we are joined by Siena Inaba. Sienna is the Program Operations Specialist for the National Geographic Society's Pristine Seas. Her day-to-day work varies from buying and outfitting the team's deep-sea submersible to trying to get box jellyfish anti-venom across the world to the expedition ship. Sienna's journey has been anything but linear. Graduating during the pandemic, she took a job in healthcare, far from her field of study in earth sciences. Sienna then became a member of the founding cohort of the NGS and TNC externship program, and after many job applications, she finally landed at Pristine Seas. Today we will cover Sienna's journey, navigating post-graduation, growing up part Japanese and part white in the United States, and the importance of diversity and inclusivity in science. And now we're here with Sienna. Thank you so much, Sienna, for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's dig right in. So environmental science, how did you get into this world of being interested in the science and conservation of the natural environment?
That is a very good question. And one that goes like all the way back to my childhood. Not to do a long rambling story, I grew up with the greats, Jane Goodall, Steve Irwin, Jeff Corwin, even Jacques Cousteau on the TV. And so I'm maybe 2, 3 watching these with my dad and being like, what is happening? There's this incredible, energetic, enigmatic person who is just trying to inspire everybody around them and whoever they can that the natural world is wonderful. And so from a very early age, it was conservation. How can I get in it? How can I be just like my idols? And so that led me down a long, winding career path that like twisted and turned for a little bit. I also love animals, and so I was like, maybe I want to be a veterinarian. Dabbled in working in zoos. Was pretty much set on being a veterinarian, actually, until I got to college. And then I had one quarter where I had organic chemistry, a biochemistry course, and calculus, all at the same time. And the only class that I passed was calculus. So I had to have a really hard look. I mean, do I want to be a vet? Because if I do, then it's going to be another year of school so that I can go retake those classes. Or do I just want to work with animals and continue into conservation? So after doing some deep inner searching and taking this incredible class called On Thin Ice, I still remember the professor, Julie Ferguson, she's an icon, which was studying glaciology and looking at how glaciers change throughout time. I was like, I'm hooked. I have to study this. And that brought me back into conservation.
When you graduated, kind of take me through what life was like after that point, because you mentioned COVID pandemic entered.
So I graduated in March of 2021. So we'd been online for basically a year. And you're looking at the job market and graduating with a degree in earth system sciences, and I had a specification in oceanography. So I was applying to everything. And it's the age of online. So it was through LinkedIn. It was through, gosh, a bajillion other job boards that I can't even name at this point. And applying to everything and then not hearing a single response. Unfortunately, it was the pandemic, and so a lot of people who are our age all went through that. So some people went on to master's programs, some people stuck with it. I've got a couple of really great friends who took a sabbatical and went and hiked the PCT instead. I was determined to get a job and hop on as soon as I could, and I got very fortunate and joined the fight against COVID and joined healthcare. So I was a healthcare scheduler with Banner Health out of Arizona, piloting their remote program since I had expertise in being a remote college student to that point. And also doing a little bit of healthcare because I took care of my grandfather throughout college. And so that was what happened afterwards. And it was just after probably hundreds of applications to labs and other conservation jobs that I just wasn't hearing back from.
And how did you wrestle internally with the, I guess, permission or idea of deviating from kind of that dream place of study?
I had been job hunting for about 6 months before I got the job at Banner. And so it's always the balance of, I really want to do this thing. And conservation is amazing. And I think that there are a lot of young conservationists out there who probably face a similar issue where you want to work for one of the big networks. It's Animal Planet, it's Discovery, it's National Geographic. And then you go tell your parents this. And you go tell other adults that you trust, and they're like, are you sure? That's really hard, and they don't make a lot of money. So, after hearing that for 2 years, once I moved back to Earth System Sciences, and knowing that I needed a job, because otherwise I was going to get kicked out, so that I could make my own way. It wasn't a very hard decision, and I knew that it would provide some very good learning opportunities. And ultimately, it's the best time to be looking for a job is when you have one. So even if it's not in the field, you're learning the best skills you can and doing everything. The skills I learned at Banner still help me to this day. And I consider calibrated my brain. I consider a stressful workplace now. If someone's actively dying, that's a stressful work environment. So now I look at things, it's like, oh, this invoice is 20 days past due. Not so stressful. It's okay. We're going to figure it out.
Good stress management, for sure.
Exactly. To bring it back to your question, how did I grapple with it? It was, I'm going to take this job and I'm going to get everything I can out of it for now, but I'm going to keep applying to the things that I want to be doing in the long run, because I know that this isn't my long-term solution. And so, yeah, that's how I ended up at the externship, actually.
Let's dig into that. First, the mindset that you have towards that, nonlinear curve in the thing is really beautiful. I think we should emphasize that and listen to, as you say. I will note that as well. And secondly, how did we reshift back into the environment? You say the externship.
Definitely. So at healthcare, I knew it wasn't a good spot for me. The people were amazing and incredible, and I still laugh about the stories I got from that to this day. Just the things I could tell you. It was ridiculous. But it wasn't me. I appreciate the healthcare community so much. My two best friends are doctors. One of my dearest friends is a dentist. Everybody who I went to college with has gone into healthcare in some way. So I have such a deep respect for that field. But it wasn't me. And so I was applying to everything anytime I had a second. And one day, my cousin put me in touch with this job board. I think it was 7 Seas Media. And I'm scrolling through it, and there is a National Geographic and the Nature Conservancy externship. I have never heard of an externship, but I'll give it a go. Applied and managed to get it, which was incredible. And that's how I met amazing people like you.
And for the externship, what did you focus on for the project?
Yeah. So the externship came at an interesting time. I was still working part-time at healthcare, and I was in the middle of a move. And the whole premise of the capstone project is you're looking at a environmental issue, marine or sea to summit related, and in your local community. So, how do you pick something when you're balancing between two communities? I was moving from Northern California to Southern California, driving along the coast. I had been in my new house for just a couple of days, and then an oil spill happened off the coast of Huntington Beach. Like,
Mm.
boom. I have been bike riding these estuaries almost every day throughout college of Southern California. And they are all being directly impacted by this oil spill. It's like you drive down the coast and you see these yellow bumpers that are being placed at the mouths of these estuaries to keep the oil from coming in. And so my project focused on California's response to oil spills and how we protect our estuaries.
That's really interesting. And what were the big insights that you learned from that project, either specific to the oil spills in California or maybe some transferable skills that you built on later?
Our oil spill response, it's kind of amazing. It's so rapid. As soon as there is the initial alarm going off, they like send teams out immediately and they are actively trying to contain it and then mitigate the effects of it as soon as possible. And I used to know much more about this, and I apologize. My mind is
It's been a
fading
few
at
years.
the
It's been a
moment.
few years.
It's just been a couple of years. I remember leaving from the project and feeling very confident in my state's efforts to make sure that our estuaries and these super delicate ecosystems that like they are the nurseries for our oceans. They provide carbon sinks. They're providing our oxygen. They're reducing the keep the smog down. They're gorgeous. The things that you don't think about Southern California, it's like you think of the beautiful beaches and palm trees. And I believe I wrote in my essay, it's like you're driving down the road and you look to the right and it's beautiful beaches, but if you look to the left, you'll catch glimpses of these little
Mm.
estuaries with baby ducks and fresh green shoots coming out of it, and it's stunning. So I left feeling very confident in my state's ability to mitigate oil spills.
That is actually a really, unfortunately rare, but really exciting feeling to have faith in the policy of the state. So we have one thing at least locked down in California. And then after the externship, you were in between the move, you were still working, applying for jobs. What is the next step on your journey?
Yeah. So throughout the externships, we got to meet some incredible people from both the Nature Conservancy and National Geographic. And through National Geographic, two of our team leads were Dane Weber and Jules Leffinger. And I really hit it off with both of them. So after we finished, I kept in contact with them. And I was like, I love National Geographic. I've been watching it since I was a child. How do I get a job? And they both provided amazing tips for me. Alan wrote me a letter as a recommendation. And I was determined. So when it came time, I was like, I'm going to work for this company. And I applied to every job on that job board. From the mailroom all the way to the C-suite, I was applying to those jobs. Oh, one day I was on vacation. I remember this. I got an email that said, hey, we'd like for you to interview for a position called Payments Coordinator for Pristine Seas. And I was blown away. I was like, oh my goodness, they actually wrote back. So the rest is kind of history. I ended up getting the job with Pristine Seas, and I've been there for the last 3 years.
Yeah, and I remember we actually had a call after the externship ended many, many years ago. Well, I guess not many, many, but a good number. And I remember you describing the unexpected transferable skills from your work in the healthcare into the job with National Geographic. Can you expand upon that a little bit?
So, kind of like I touched on earlier, it's a little shocking how much you learn just interacting with people on a day to day. I was taking upwards of 200 calls a day in healthcare. And with every person, it's someone who's been on hold for 2 hours and is cranky. You got a new mom who's been up all night delivering a baby. You have somebody who's frantically trying to get a doctor's appointment because they haven't been in and they're worried about whatever. And so you're interacting with so many people, and you've got to learn how to manage emotions and make sure that you are still getting to the end result. And one of the amazing things about Pristine Seas is that it's a very diverse community of people that we work with. It is a global organization that works all around the world. And with that, there are a lot of different people with different cultures and different backgrounds. Being able to kind of navigate everybody, no matter it's like, hey, I'm taking a call with somebody and it's 3 a.m. for him, so he's exhausted, versus hanging out with another person who is always bubbly and joyful. That the soft skills of having, like, being able to talk to people and solve their problems and make sure they know that they're in good hands is huge. And so I'm very, very grateful for that skill. And then on top of it, on top of really great stress reduction. Like I said, Pristine Seas is not a stressful work environment, and I am so very grateful for it. On the rare occasion that I might be stressed about something, it's like, oh, there's a deadline coming up or whatever. The things that you all have in every job. Healthcare, like, recalibrated my brain for what stress is. So it's kind of shocking and amazing.
And let's dig into some of your fun projects that you've done at Pristine Seas. One that you mentioned is the submersible.
Yeah. The first project I ever got on Pristine Seas was helping to pay for and build out the Argonauta in collaboration with our chief submersible officer. His name is Shmolik Blum. I got put in contact with him. I'd probably been on the job for 2 months when my boss said, hey, we're buying a submersible and we need you to work with Shmolik. I think I was 23 at the time. Like, I'm buying a sub? What? It's crazy. So everything from, like, robotic arms that pan and tilt to a fully functional cinema camera to an eDNA sampler. We're trying to outfit the ultimate deep sea research tool. And it was an incredible experience. And I'm so proud to say that the submersible, lovingly named Argonauta, which is our little yellow submarine, launched in October of 2024 during our Solomon Islands expedition. And it has been uncovering the secrets of the deep sea ever since. And it's been incredible, and I'm like a proud parent watching his child go off and do all these cool things every time.
Yeah, and so designing what to put on the submarine, what was the process of thinking about what needs to be on it, what doesn't need, and then also acquiring these probably very specific technologies that, you know, you're going deep, deep underwater. A camera above water is very different. How was that kind of process?
The wonderful thing is that we have a whole slew of experts and people who are scientists that completely focus on the deep sea. Whitney Goodell is one of our deep sea scientist experts, and she is incredible. And she's like, I want this. Molly Timmers is our eDNA specialist, and she knew a company that had a eDNA pump system that could be specially outfitted to the submersible. I owe so much to Shmolik because he has years and years working with submersibles. And so his experience was able to help this girl who didn't know much at the time. And he was saying, we need this, 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 this. I'm like, perfect. I will figure out how to pay for it. And so we've created this submersible with all of these vendors who are just on top of it. They're like, all right, we're creating a sub that'll go 1,500 meters below the surface. You need a camera for that? We got you. And so It was just an incredible experience to be a part of.
What is it like collaborating with so many different stakeholders, scientists, industry, equipment, technology people? What does that kind of look like?
That's a great question. If it's okay, I'm going to take a step back and explain Pristine Seas because it is a project that
Yes.
I didn't know about when I applied to the job, but I'm just fallen completely in love with. And I just want to brag about it every chance I can get. So, Pristine Seas was founded by Dr. Enrique Sala, who is tired of writing the obituary of the ocean. And its aim is to help protect 30% of the ocean by 2030. It does this by combining policy, media, communications, education, expeditions, and science, all in one neat little bundle. So, we are invited to these amazing places. We've been in the Pacific for the last 3 years, bouncing around, combining all of these things on an expedition. It is incredible. We're doing nearshore, offshore surveys. We're inspiring students through ship days where we have schools from these communities come onto the boat and they learn from these top notch scientists that just want to talk about the amazing things that they do and inspire the next generation. And then we have the most incredible media people who every time they show me what they're working on, I'm just like, how did you do that? That was amazing and beautiful. That are creating beautiful documentary films. And so it is a project after my heart, and they have fully taken it. But as such, back in 2020, gosh, 23, we launched the Global Expedition, which has been largely based in the Pacific, bouncing around. We just finished this year. We did 3 expeditions. It was to, oh my goodness, we're going to test my brain now. Fiji, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. And I had the privilege of going to both Fiji and Vanuatu to go meet with our scientists and our storytellers and our media people in an education capacity. I was there helping to put on an education summit in Fiji. And then in Vanuatu, I was assisting another program called Photo Camp. But your question was, what's it like working with these top-notch scientists? And like, I call them celebrities because in the conservation world, and in my mind, they're celebrities. They're on camera all the time. And I won't tell this to them because I don't want their heads getting too big, but I love them dearly. They are the best people that I know. They are so kind, so thoughtful, and all they want to do is explore this natural world and make sure that it is protected so that the next generations to come can enjoy it the way that we have and that our grandparents have and that their grandparents have. We want to make sure that we're leaving the place better than we found it. And it is my honor and privilege to be a part of this, a team that all shares this vision.
Is there ever any translation errors moving between the high jargon of science and then the communication aspect with the programs? How do you navigate translating such complex ideas and passions to those who may be less either passionate or in the depths of the language?
That is a great question. Since we work on such an international basis, language barriers and communication shortfallings are just naturally going to happen. The wonderful thing that Pristine Seas does is in every place, it's not just our core little team. Every place that we go to, we have local community members that will come on board and they're acting as scientists, as filmmakers, and they're able to report back to their own communities all of the things that they're finding. So if there was language barriers between, I don't know, me going out to, say, Papua New Guinea, where they speak, I think it's like 500 plus languages.
Wow, 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 wow.
Like, it's mitigated because we've hired And we work with these amazing local fixers who are able to report their own findings back to the community. And if we go back, they're there to help make sure that our message gets across and that there is no misunderstanding.
And I'm curious, on the expedition ship, how many people are on the boat at a given time?
That is a very good question. So, part of the global expedition is we have been on the research vessel Argo, which is a vessel based out of Costa Rica. It's not very big. It's beautiful. I call her a celebrity. Every time like, the first time I got to see her was this year, and I was like, oh my goodness, she's gorgeous. At any given time, we can have, I think it's 25 people on board. And it's a combination of 25? I could have that number wrong, but it's a combination of scientists and our media folks that are out there filming the beautiful places that we've been asked to go visit.
And then the next would be the jellyfish. I'm so curious about the jellyfish story.
Yes. So, as part of the global expedition, working in the tropical Pacific, there are known, like, dangers in the area. And it's just like me walking around my backyard. There are rattlesnakes there. I know that they're there, and I just want to make sure that I know that there's a hospital that can treat me within throwing distance if I get bit. Same thing in the tropical Pacific. We've mitigated for as many issues as we can, one of them being the very venomous box jellyfish. Now, while we were getting ready for this, we had an amazing doctor on board who's like, there is an anti-venom that I want to have on board at any given point in case something goes wrong. Highly unlikely anything would go wrong, but on the off chance, we want our bases covered. So, she gave me the name of the company. And our first year of the global expedition, we hit 5 countries. For reference, we've done 3 expeditions since in the preceding years. It was trying to hit a moving target. So we paid for the thing. We're hoping that it's going to make it to Tahiti where we can meet the boat before the expedition even starts. And we missed the window due to shipping, I think. It's very difficult to ship bio things across countries. Imagine that. So we missed Tahiti. All right. The next one, we're going to be in the Cooks for a little bit. Let's try to send it to the Cooks. Didn't make it to the Cooks. There were some customs things that weren't going to let us do it. All right, where do we go now? All right, we're going to be in Niue for a little bit. Let's try to send it to Niue. We missed the first part anyway. Okie dokie. Hang on, the boat's coming back to Niue. Let's see if we can send it there. So, after 3 countries, I'm trying to get it through, and almost a year of trying to get this anti-venom to the boat, we finally had these amazing people at the Niue hospital who said, yes, we will hold this for you. Now, one thing I didn't mention is this has to be kept at like a refrigerator temp the whole time. So while you're transporting it, you have to have a special carrier that's like a little mini refrigerator with you. Totally fine. But that means you can't just leave it on a dock for 2 months hoping that it'll be okay. It's not like a bottle of aspirin. It's not going to stay okay. So this lovely hospital offered up their fridge for us, held on to the anti-venom, and then when the boat came back, the crew was able to go get it and then put it into our fridge on the boat. So now we've never run into a box jellyfish in the 3 years that we've been doing this, but they're okay if they ever run into one.
And how do you manage all of these logistics and coordination in a remote environment? What does that day-to-day work look like?
Ooh, good question. The wonderful bit about Pristine Seas is most of the team is remote, and all of us, in being remote, we have to be great communicators. So we've got so many meetings to go over and make sure that we have not missed a single thing. It is like spreadsheets galore and the not glamorous side of any business. But there are multiple eyes on everything to make sure that nothing gets missed, that our permits are in place, that everybody's travel is fully booked, that, I don't know, our entry permits are secured. All of those little like bits and pieces that are all super important to an expedition. There's a whole team at the office that I'm very proud to be a part of that is making sure that it's all set up so that our scientists and storytellers and media folks can all head out and do what they do best.
And following up on that, to kind of gear back to your initial studies in environmental science, oceanography, and in this position that has a bit more of a kind of production or programs kind of role, there are many kind of stereotypical images of what a conservationist looks like and does, being Jane Goodall, as we mentioned before, in the Gombe, right under the jungle, right next to the chimpanzees, and then again, like the people on the physical boat or in the submersible, completely out in the middle of the Pacific. Your role is very different from that image. How do you feel, reflecting on initially studying more of a scientific background and then now being in, I wouldn't say a supporting role because it's vitally important. It's not like side character.
You could also call it a supporting
but
role.
As we may. But the question is kind of having that shift in how you relate to the overall purpose or the overall idea.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think it's something that everybody thinks about. It's like, I'm one person. What can I do to protect this world? And if enough people say that, we'll have the world protected. If it's one person that goes out every morning and picks up trash on a beach, there will be plenty of other people that walk that beach every morning and they're like, oh, this one person does that every day. Why am I not doing that? It takes one person to start a movement. So everybody can be a conservationist. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be working on an ice cream shop and you can be a conservationist. It's sharing an Instagram post. It's taking a moment out of your day to learn more and read a science paper. And like the little things. And so when I was grappling with what I wanted to be when I grow up, and it's still something I deal with today, I knew I didn't want to be in a lab. It wasn't a good fit for me. I knew this back in college. I'm like, if I have to stare into a microscope all day, I will not be happy. During our externship, was deeply humbled as a photographer. It's like, we had some very talented people in our cohort who were creating these beautiful stories using pictures that they'd taken or videos that they'd created. And I was like, okay, I have a passion for photography, for art, and for cinema, but that's not where my strengths lie. And there are stronger people out there who can contribute to that. Same with like public speaking and being a forward-facing person. I love it, don't get me wrong. And I think that there are definitely places where everybody can grow. But I knew it wasn't one of my strongholds. I did, however, and have always been a big, supporting player. I was a goalie in field hockey. No ball was getting past me. And I was there to make sure that the team had everything that they needed and they didn't have to worry about me in the back half. Healthcare. I was the person you called to make sure that you got the help, the care that you needed. And so just like being those team members, being on Pristine Seas, I want to make sure I'm the best team member I can be so that the conservation can continue and is doing as much as it can be. And that's the wonderful thing about this team is we've got so many people who are top tier at what they do. And so it allows me to be top tier at what I do. And it's not the glamorous Jane Goodall sea heroine in front of a camera going, oh, this is amazing. That might be the goal for me. But right now, this is what they need, and this is what is important for me so that I can grow my conservation career.
And then with these reflections, were there any particular, I guess, exercises or moments that help facilitate that reflection point that may be useful for someone else in a similar position of trying to figure out where exactly do they fit in given their interests, strengths, and a bit of realism perhaps.
It's hard. It's like you're young. Literally, the world is your oyster. So many things. And I say when you're young, like I'm a million years old. I'm only 26, and the world is still my oyster. Um, and so all the advice I give to everybody who's new to their career or just going through college is A, D's get degrees. B, if you're interested in something, try it. If you don't think, or like, if it doesn't make sense in like your career path, say you really want to be a cinematographer, but then you get this awesome opportunity to go work, I don't know, an accounts payable for 2 months so that you're helping out a family friend. Do it. I did it, and that was my stepping stone to get payments coordinator. It gave me the background and gave me a foot in the door. So, yeah, my advice is do what you love, but then also follow the things that are interesting. It'll lead you exactly where you need to be.
Beautiful, beautiful. And to kind of come back to the ideas of Pristine Seas working on a diverse team in diverse places across the world, you also have a diverse background yourself. How what is your experience being raised in the US with a blend of cultures and at times conflicting values? Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm very privileged and honored to have both sides of my culture shine through a lot. I'm a quarter Japanese and three-quarters white. My family from Japan has been in the US for over 100 years. They were interned in California, and so I have a lot of very deep roots here. And we still practice customs from when my family came over from Japan. And it is kind of an oddity and a rare situation to the point where National Geographic about 10 years ago reached out and said, hey, can we do a story on you guys' family? Yeah, we are a very private family. And so everybody said, no, thank you. But it's beautiful coming from multiple cultures and having this long history of in the United States and then an even longer one outside of the United States coming together and then meeting other people who have different backgrounds but also very similar experiences. When I was up in Canada, when I recently just started with Pristine Seas, I was asked to speak at a conference up in Vancouver called Impact 5. As part of that experience, I was approached by one of these chiefs of one of the First Nations people who asked me if I was a survivor of the children's schools. One of the privileges I have of being a mixed kid is people look at me and they're like, what are you? We can't tell. And this lovely woman came up and thought that I was part of her culture. So I explained I was not, but she then proceeded to explain her experience as a survivor of the children's schools, which was a tragedy and a horror that happened up in Canada. And then in turn, I got to explain my family's experience with internment in the United States. And we were able to bond and connect over that and then share a couple of laughs. And that experience would not have been possible without Pristine Seas. It's this amazing opportunity to collaborate with people from all over the world who have such unique backgrounds. And I am so grateful that there is a program like this out in the world that is able to bridge those gaps and make sure that not only is our ocean protected, but our cultures and our history also protected.
That's really beautiful, especially when conservation historically has had such a white dominated colonial structure past to be able to be a part of a project that, again, not only prioritizes the oceans, but also takes care of the communities that will help preserve the oceans for many, many centuries and thousands of years, hopefully, to come. It's really inspiring to hear not only what is happening with Pristine Seas, but also the way that you talk about it. The kind of passion just glows from your face every time that you bring it up. And it's really cool to witness because there's so many people in companies and industries where it's a passionless labor, and here to be in a role that, again, like not that visually glamorous that we expect, but then also have so much care and dedication to put your best work forward. It is certainly inspiring to just hear you talk about everything that we've talked about so far today. So thank you for that. To bridge, I think it's time for the conservation hot take. So in this segment, for those unfamiliar, we want to know one of your conservation hot takes, something someone will disagree with. It can be piping hot, it can be lukewarm, but something that someone will be, about as a listener. Sienna, do you have a conservation hot take today?
Well, it's funny you should ask, Stephanie. I do, as a matter of fact. As part of my education at University of California, Irvine, we were taught that this is a very common phrase in science and in environmental planning, and it's called ecosystem services. Since I've heard this phrase, I can't stand it because it implies that we are not a part of the ecosystem and takes us out of the picture and says, what can this do for me? Why would you look at the place that feeds you, that gives you air, that protects you from storms, as what can you do for me? It's like looking at your mom and being like, Mom, what can you do for me? She's your mother. She takes care of you. Like, that's just why? I would much prefer if we took a step back and added ourselves back into the picture. And it's looking at ecosystem services in a less egocentric way and had it be, what is this wonderful world doing to benefit humans? If that's the way that we need to look at it in order for it to be protected. That coral reef over there is protecting our coastline and protecting our shores from being washed away, so that beautiful sandy beach that you go on vacation with stays there. We need to look at it. That's what that coral reef does for us. It's not a service. It's just what it does.
Ah, yeah.
If you're looking at the Amazon rainforest, right? It's not actively trying to produce oxygen for us. It's just doing it, and it's doing a great job, and it would be great if we just let it do its thing. It's something beautiful for us to go see. It is providing its own benefit, and in turn providing a benefit for us, but it would still do that if we weren't around. So I would love if we stopped using the phrase ecosystem services and put ourselves like back into the picture as this is one world and one unit, and it's not just what can that do for me, because it doesn't make us better people, it doesn't make us a better human race, and it's not really putting these aspects into a way that is like gonna want to inspire us to make sure that it keeps doing what it does.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting framing because while ecosystem services is a way for, I guess, business entities to try to incorporate more environmental considerations and a little bit of empathy into their calculations, at the end of the day, the term services itself is that expectation of something being given. It's, you are, yeah, instead of a gift being naturally provided, that's a really interesting shift of where that kind of agency or expectation of. I'd like to ask one two more questions. One is simple, and one is also simple, I guess. I'd like to ask two more questions. The first being, if there was any, I guess, advice or for someone listening to this podcast who is trying to get into the aviation field, maybe studied as having some challenges or a curved line post-graduation or something, do you have any advice for those who are in that position?
If you know in your soul it's what you're meant to do, make it happen. I know it might look grim and hard, but your soul knows that that's what you're meant to do. And so the universe is conspiring to make that happen for you. So do that thing you think is not going to get you where you need to be, but is interesting. Take a chance on somebody. Talk to whoever you can. Share your voice. It's important. Everyone has a story to tell. And we become a much more empathetic people and a wiser people when you're sharing that. So, my big takeaway I want anybody listening that might be having a hard time is keep your head up. You've got this. And you do you, man. You're going to do great. I believe in you.
I love that. Do you, man. That's the way. Simple, simple.
Very my Southern California showing.
And then, if there's any listener who'd be interested in reaching out to you, in which way may they go about doing so?
Definitely. I am on LinkedIn and on Instagram. I'm more so on Instagram. My name is my username, so Siena Inaba. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to whoever wants to, provide advice, just a listening ear, anything. I love to hear from everybody, and obviously I like to talk. So if you want your ear chewed off, let me know.
Well, thank you so much, Sienna. It has been a wonderful conversation. I'm glad we got to connect again and kind of go through how much you've grown and experienced with Pristine Seas. It is truly inspiring. I have so many lessons that I'm going to take away from this conversation, and motivation. You really are good at pumping people up. I love it. It's really nice. So, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. This podcast is amazing, and I'm so grateful that you and I got to connect. And I'm so excited to see everywhere that this podcast goes.